What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another Network 216 exclusive. We're here to break down the wide receiver room. I'm Jacob. That's Zach. Down there is Tyler. Gentlemen, how are we doing this afternoon?
Doing good, dude. Doing good. A little tired, but Browns news never stops. So here we are.
I'm pretty exhausted. It's been quite a weekend, to say the least. But you know what? We're here talking Browns. At least that always livens the mood a little bit. So, and we had a good week Browns wise with great news coming through. Can't complain in that regard.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to jump back into the studio and get past some of the other things that are going on. You're like, you just want fun. We're jumping back in here. Let's get this. Guys, we're brought to you as always by our friends over at Homage Apparel. This is my favorite Homage shirt. I won't lie. I've got just the Cleveland Browns classic Brownie the Elf orange. I do like Zach's too. The very simple design of the Cavs.
Yeah, Cavs clinched playoffs, so let's go.
Unfortunately, don't have a ton of clothes with me. Because I had to. So for those that aren't aware, our power went out. That we got home at like 8:30 last night. It was pitch black, so had to put on a flashlight, get some clothes. Head to my parents. Don't have any homage gear, but of course, go get your homage gear today.
Link down in the description down below, guys. We're going to talk about the wide receiver room. Good.
No, I was going to say, so Tyler, you probably aren't feeling as comfortable as me and Jacob right now.
I'm definitely not. No, let me say that I am really not. This brown shirt I'm wearing is actually kind of small, so like it's not the most comfortable thing I could be wearing right now.
Yeah, the homage too. I do like not just that the softness of it, but they do seem to make very breathable in shirts as well.
Yeah,
you're like they're not restricting. You don't have to like go up two sizes so you can breathe.
I feel like I can eat Thanksgiving dinner and still put this on and feel comfortable. Exactly. Yep. There you go.
Marks of a fantastic shirt. Because there's been a lot of conversation around the wide receiver room. The addition to Elijah Moore, kind of a surprise to me with the Marquise Goodwin coming in as well, just because I thought it was either or with the wide receiver room. But real quick, we've talked about some of the Elijah Moore and things like that, but I wanted to get your guys' overall feelings about the wide receiver room. If this was the wide receiver room they take into camp, let's say they take none in the draft, and we'll talk about the draft here in a second, and then just kind of go through how we think it'll shake it out. But if this is the wide receiver room going into the draft, barring some kind of injury, and you open camp having made no additions past, we're recording this March 26th, so no additions after this, how would you guys feel about the room?
I'm pumped about it personally. I mean, you have Amari Cooper. You got the guy that presumably will be your number one receiver, in quotation. Some people don't believe he's a number one. I do. Proved that last year. Amari Cooper's your number one guy. And then for that number two role, I do believe it's going to be a competition between Donovan Peoples-Jones and Elijah Moore. Everyone's pegging Elijah Moore as a slot, and I just think that could not be more wrong because there's just so much he can do for this offense, and he shows how great he can separate on the outside. I think that's going to be a competition right there. So you're good for the 2 and 3 spots. And I have to admit, guys, I'm pretty excited about Marquise Goodwin. I know that he's not a guy that's like going to come in here and put up big numbers, and you don't need him to do that. But he's a guy that he played nearly 50% of his reps at the slot last year, so he can play that for you. He brings speed at wide receiver. So I love that addition. And then your number 5 guy is probably going to be David Bell. And, it's kind of unfortunate given what's happened with David Bell. He battled injury last year. He didn't really get to make an impact. And the Browns went out and have added a lot of talent at the wide receiver position. We're going to have to see what type of player David Bell's going to be. Is he going to embrace this challenge and try and do whatever he can to get more reps? Or is he just going to kind of be a guy that we hear from him from time to time and that'll be it? So, and then probably at 6, it's going to be between Jakeem Grant and Michael Woods, I believe.
Yeah, and that's, there's still a lot of things that can go down, but I mean, that basically hits it pretty perfect right there, Tyler. But the thing about David Bell is like, he's that wide receiver that now you're not making him go out as a rookie. Last year, we were expecting him, like, could he compete for wide receiver 2 with DPJ? Like, is he going to be wide receiver 3? And dude, when he got a catch in a game, like, oh, there he is, like it was like that. It was like, what happened to him? Like, I thought he was going to come in. He was great wide receiver coming out of Purdue. Like, so now it's like he can be that in an air raid offense, a Watson-based offense with Stefanski. He could be your security blanket, Watson's going to be that quarterback that's going to go through all of his reads, and if David Bell's just open across the middle, there's my security blanket. I feel like he can take that role and run with it, but we'll see. I mean, I'm not gonna, Anthony Schwartz the kid, because that's what I did with Anthony Schwartz. I'm like, oh, this kid's gonna be speed. He's gonna be a flyer down the field, and then after the first year, I'm like, okay, maybe this guy ain't it. So, but I'm not gonna exactly give up on David Bell, but like I said, I think he could be a good security blanket in our offense.
See, here's what I think they'll end up doing is you have Marquise Goodwin. Like, you will have, I believe, certain packages where you want Goodwin on the field, because I don't think Goodwin's going to be a guy that is always out there in 4 wide receiver sets. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to switch that up between Goodwin and Bell, which just makes a lot of sense to me, because that way, again, David Bell, like you mentioned, Zach, is going to be that security blanket, because he's just coming out. The comparison was a lot of people thought he was similar to a Jarvis Landry type of receiver. He's the guy that's going to make the tough catches in the middle of the field. He's going to always be there to catch the ball. He's not going to be a burner by any means. And we saw that with his RAS score, and his testing numbers were not very good. And a lot of people thought, like, okay, I don't want this guy. But, that's the type of player David Bell is going to be. He's really going to have to show. I mean, as a 3rd round pick, he's really going to have to justify that by playing that role this year.
Yeah, the biggest thing about David Bell, I always thought, is that he's a zone beater. He just understands how to find the hole in zone coverage and settle in that. And he's never going to be necessarily, because he's not an elite separator. He just isn't. Although he's a pretty good route runner, and he does create enough separation to be, as you guys talked, a safety blanket. I think that is where his skill set is. And I agree with the Jarvis Landry comparison, not that they're exact same player, but their roles, I think, on this team will be similar as we transition to a more pass first situation. And I think it's interesting to note, though, as we look at this room as a whole, Marquise Goodwin, Elijah Moore, not the same skill set, nowhere near the same skill set. Are they both burners? Yes, but that's where the comparisons end. With Elijah Moore, something I wanted to touch on, as I am I'm his number 1 fan. So we're just gonna do that. I'm taking number 1 from Tyler here.
I'm number 2. I'm number 2 then. I'm
1B, 1A and 1B. Let's put it right there. We got it. We're good. We don't have to fight semantics here. And, but something about Elijah Moore that I've talked now ad nauseum, I think, about Elijah Moore this week, and everybody who's watching this is like, oh, we're going to do more of this. And yes, we are. Jake Burns finished his film breakdown of it and just kind of talked about how it's insane the way the Jets were using Elijah Moore, that Mike LaFleur very much deserved getting fired this year as the OC after what happened, and Elijah Moore is part of that. He had, I'm trying to think of the guy's name, but he had the host of the Play Like a Jet podcast on right after the trade and was like, hey, tell me what's up. And you could hear frustration and disappointment that the Jets couldn't figure out how to use Elijah Moore. And when you hear that from other fan bases and other analysts and all those things, that they're like, man, they really botched this, you got to feel good about your situation. Elijah Moore is best on the outside. I know I've talked about his slot ability and how he was about a 50-50 slot this year, but he's a Z wide receiver. And if you watch it, he's like Amari Cooper in the sense that he's best on the outside, but he can kill you in the slot. And you can slide him in there and you can kill, and he can do that sort of thing. You rotate him and DPJ and Cooper and even David Bell in there at times. And it's just where they're the best at attacking defenses. And it's like Elijah Moore, his ability to just stop on a dime, on the dime and make a violent cut and just create amazing separation.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was like Amari Cooper, I love him, and he is going to be our wide receiver 1 this season, but it's like 1A, 1B, like you guys said with your fandom for Elijah Moore, it's 1A, 1B. But for Amari Cooper, his thing is he doesn't create the best separation, but he has those tough hands that, okay, he can make any single catch that you're throwing to him. Elijah Moore has tough hands, but he can make elite separation. So that's just something that our wide receiver room is nice, dude. Like, I'm so excited about talking about it right now. And I don't even know if we're done yet, but Elijah Moore,
we're
like our Elijah Moore is just someone, he can make elite separation in the slot, out wide, and he's a great, along with Amari Cooper, a great route runner.
You just can never have enough players that understand how to win. And I don't mean win football games necessarily. I just mean win in coverage. beat man coverage, beat zone. And I just think that the skill set of Elijah Moore is a long-term 22 years old. We talked about this pre-episode. Like, he's 22 years old, guys. Like, you've got 2 full seasons to decide what you're going to do with him in the direction of this room. And you're like, people are a little upset, like, oh, you could have got a guy on a rookie contract with 4 years instead of 2. And it's like, yeah, but those rookies haven't shown me tape in the NFL. Elijah Moore's tape in the NFL, same as it was in college. There's not a massive drop-off there. The massive drop-off was he actually had better quarterback play at Ole Miss. That's the massive changes between his film from college to the NFL. And it's like Zach Wilson would never look at him. Mike LaFleur never gave him any manufactured touches or put him as like the main hot read. But you look at some of these stretches, like as a rookie, he did so much damage in the 5 games that Zach Wilson was not his quarterback. And it's like, you look at all that stuff and you're just like, okay, I have a number 1 right now, a potential future number 1, a really solid number 2 or 3 with Donovan Peoples-Jones. David Bell showed some really nice separation data, even though he's not an elite separator. He had some really nice data points that went there. And, Jordan Akins and David Njoku, and you're talking about all these guys. And I'm sitting here right now that the state of this wide receiver room on March 26th compared to what it was when the season ended is drastically different. And really, it's only been 2 players. Elijah Moore just totally changes it. And then you get a consistent speedster who can get you 300 to 500 yards in Marquise Goodwin. And right now, I feel amazing about the room.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the big question when you're talking about not this year, but just moving forward, what happens with Donovan Peoples-Jones? Because here's the situation as it stands. The Browns have to decide this offseason about offering him an extension because he's playing out the last year of his contract if you don't do that. Now, Donovan Peoples-Jones, it's likely that he is not going to repeat close to that 1,000-yard season he got last year because you're bringing in Elijah Moore, you're bringing in Marquise Goodwin, David Bell's going to have a little bit of a bigger role. You got David Njoku, you added Jordan Akins. Targets, in my opinion, are going to be taken away from Donovan Peoples-Jones. Does Donovan Peoples-Jones want to pass on an extension this year and test the market next year when his numbers are going to probably take a couple hundred yards as far as a hit there and touchdown-wise? Or does he want to take an extension from the Browns that is about $7-8 million, a little bit more team-friendly, do that on about a 3-year deal, wait Amari Cooper out because Amari Cooper, I don't see them giving him a contract extension at this age, and roll with Elijah Moore, Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Bell, add someone else in the future as well to that room. What does Donovan Peoples-Jones want to do? I think that is a huge topic this offseason for how this wide receiver room is going to look, not next year only, but even moving forward once Amari Cooper has moved on from the Browns.
Yeah. I think that's very telling. I think that's very telling, Tyler, because like you said, like with the Elijah Moore trade, you keep Cooper past 2023 next season. You could probably keep him, you can run in 2024 with Cooper, say all still goes well. If Donovan Peoples-Jones takes a 3-year extension and then extends after 2024 again with us and bets on himself with the Browns, I personally think, not even just as a fan, I personally think that's the smartest route for him to go. Because like you said, his yardage it's just inevitable. It's going to go down. He's going to be probably wide receiver 3 right now in Cleveland. So I think that's the smartest route.
Yeah, and I think Jack Duffin's talked about it many times over at the OBR. He does, for the reasons you guys have just listed, he does believe that June, July, they get something done with Donovan Peoples-Jones. And yeah, I mean, you could get, if you got him at that 7 or 8 number, like I'm looking at comparable contracts across the NFL and whatnot. And I know Jack does a much better job at articulating this stuff. It makes a lot of sense. If you've got a guy who is a high-end let's say last year's his ceiling. I don't think it is, but let's just hypothetically say that last year is his ceiling in terms of the amount of damage he can do. So you're talking about 800-900 yards. He can do that. Yeah, that's worth $7-8 million. Easy in my book. If he can high end be a borderline 1,000-yard receiver in a run first offense, which is what he was, playing with last year. Okay, yeah, man, $7-8 million. Just sign me up because I love the draft. I'm a huge draft guy. When you guys that watch this channel understand that I do all this draft stuff. I got to prove a commodity, and I'm just not dumb enough to let it walk.
Mhm.
That's my thought.
Well, and the thing with Donovan Peoples-Jones too, with all this is, again, if you're the Browns, how high are you willing to go on this? Because I know what you're referring to with Jack. Jack has said he's looking at probably 11 to 12 million. I don't know right now if I can say with Donovan Peoples-Jones that I'm comfortable giving him that even on a 3-year deal. Because
that was pre-Moore deal, wasn't it though?
He still is pretty much
he's still
firm on that number.
Okay.
Because again, you look at what Juju Smith-Schuster got, Jacoby Myers.
Yeah.
That's probably what DPJ ideally would want. But at the same time, I personally can't do that. Like, if you're negotiating with DPJ, and the most I would probably go 8.5. 8.5 is probably the max I would go. You could talk me into 9, but if you get to 10 or 11 and even above that, I can't do it at that point because I just haven't seen enough of him, like as far as that consistent production, to where I can be like, okay, I'm paying this guy. Like, great. I mean, because again, you're gonna have to make a decision on Elijah Moore probably next offseason. Because again, if Elijah Moore plays how we believe he's going to play, then you're gonna have to pay him. So that's the other thing you're running into, and eventually at some point you are gonna have to make a decision on Amari Cooper, because Cooper might want one last payday at his age. Like, I mean, some of these veterans, that's why Adam Thielen left the Vikings, so on and so forth. Some of these guys still believe they're worth that contract. Your team might not want to take a pay cut, and unfortunately you'd have to move on at that point. But the Donovan Peoples-Jones to me is the biggest story right now for the Browns this offseason, as far as what do they do with Donovan Peoples-Jones, because that's going to determine the future of this wide receiver room.
Well, especially the way it is now that you've added Moore and Goodwin, in terms of like, we've kind of answered a lot of the questions about the makeup of it for the short term for 2023. But then you're talking, the long-term picture. What do you guys start doing? And we know Andrew Berry loves the whole picture right now, next year, 2027, all that stuff. And it's a great question, because I don't know. I really don't. Like, I mean, I would, if it's 7 or 8, I would do it. But does he think, because here's another side of that, Tyler, you talk about like lower targets and things like that. But what about, where does the extra passing reps balance it out? Does he end up still getting the same amount because they throw it like, I don't know, 30% more or whatever? I don't know what that number is. But does he believe, hey, we're going to throw it a lot more, so I will still get enough to do this again? And then he kind of bets on himself? Or, where does that end up falling? And I think that's probably, I agree, that's probably the biggest question right now about the makeup of this room.
And we're also leaving out Njoku targets as well. So, I mean,
and Akins
too.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Akins will get.
He's an athlete, dude. He is an athlete.
Yep.
Oh, real quick, because I forgot, if you're new to this channel, thank you so much for taking your time to jump over here. Hit that subscribe. Get us a little thumbs up. Helps us greatly. We just made YouTube partner, which is just, I don't know. Me and Zach talked about this pregame before Tyler jumped on with us. It's just insane to me. It just kind of happened, and it's all because of, the support from guys like you and girls. That's not excluding you. I just say guys a lot, so I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to be better, but we'll get there. It's that Spider-Man quote, trying to be better. But if you want to go over there, we dropped a video. Tyler dropped a video yesterday, a homage giveaway of a Browns, Guardians, Cavs hoodie, whatever you guys want to do. Go check that video out. It's on the YouTube channel. You can see that. It's on the main page. I think it just talked about YouTube partner giveaway, I think is the video name. So you can go over and check that stuff out. And we will pick a winner relatively soon. And thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
I wanted to do that. I don't have the video for BetStamp. So you should go check out BetStamp, betstamp.app, and use our network 216 to set it up. So that is like the way they described it to me when we first started talking to BetStamp. It is the Expedia of sports betting. It allows you to compare lines across all of the betting apps and get the very, very best line odds. That's the word.
Yeah.
Get you the best odds for whatever you're trying to bet so that you can cash in. They said over the course of a year, BetStamp users earn about $1,000 extra in winnings just from using their line shopping ability.
Yep.
And if you use Network 216, all one word, no space, when you sign up, they'll get you guys good to go. The draft. This is I think we've kind of talked up. We can do Marquise Goodwin, but I think his is kind of basic. He's just there to run really fast and get you 300 or 400 yards. So I don't think we really need to go.
A couple touchdowns.
Yeah, let's talk about the draft, and then to wrap this thing up, we'll give kind of our predictions on March 26th of who we think is in the room and what that looks like. So as you guys sit here right now with everything that's happened, do you still want to draft a wide receiver / do you think they will still draft a wide receiver?
Tyler, I'm going to pass off to you first.
Okay.
Put him in the hot seat.
Jacob, this is a simple answer because Andrew Berry, since he became Browns GM, has drafted a receiver every single year. The Browns will draft a receiver this year. They've taken Donovan Peoples-Jones in the 6th round. They've taken Anthony Schwartz in the 3rd, David Bell in the 3rd. I mean, Michael Woods in the 6th round. Andrew Berry is going to take a shot. And if he can find another gem, like Donovan, and I do consider Donovan Peoples-Jones a gem because how often did 6th round wide receiver, now you're wide receiver 2, or even your wide receiver 3, or even still on your roster at this point. So I think they're going to take someone in this draft. I think it's going to be on day 3, trying to find a bargain. And originally I had him off the Browns draft board just because, I mean, testing numbers were really poor. There are some character concerns. I have a feeling the type of receiver Andrew Berry would take a chance on, because again, you're looking for upside. You're looking for potentially a guy that you can develop, maybe has talent. If Kayshon Boutte from LSU is there in the 4th or 5th round, Andrew Berry is absolutely going to take a swing on that. And again, I'm not a huge fan of the player, but at that point, there's no risk. You got your guys in your wide receiver room already. You're going to bring Boutte in. He's going to have to make the roster first off. And I think that's going to get the best out of him because this is a guy that seems to just need motivation in order to succeed. But another guy that I would really like to look at potentially later is Jonathan Mingo out of Ole Miss. I know that, I mean, again, you already have Elijah Moore from Ole Miss, but I love what Mingo can do. He's got size. He's got speed. I think he's a very underrated wide receiver. And if he makes it to day 3, that's another guy I would take a chance on. But for me, I see them drafting somebody. I don't see it on day 2 but at the same time, if someone falls that they love, sure, why not? But there's so much competition now at this position.
Exactly.
I think there's nothing wrong with adding more to that. And you're going to go into the draft, Zach, I think you would agree with this too. There's a good chance they're still going to add another DN, another D tackle, maybe both. You're going to go into the draft and you're going to have basically no needs. Like you'll be able to draft best player available.
Yeah, best player available.
That best player available might very well be a left tackle. So that's what they're going to do in this draft. And if a receiver is there that they like, Andrew Berry's taking one every year. And you know what? I would put money that he will take another one based off what he's done in the past.
Dare I say Marvin Mims falls too.
Mims is like a fascinating case. I just don't know where he's going to go.
He has such a range that it's nuts because Zach, you see the testing numbers and you see the highlights and you're like, okay, this guy's great. But then you have the issue at Oklahoma, and this is the problem with Big 12 offenses very frequently. And this is why you see a lot of Big 12 receivers, Corey Coleman, flame out in the NFL. The route tree that they run is so simplistic, and they get to the NFL and they can't get it down. They can't run these routes well, and then that becomes a problem. That's right now the issue with Mims. Do you believe this is now? If you're taking him later, that's different. If you're taking him and you're believing and you wanting this guy to just be your vertical guy, okay, because that's what he is right now. Marvin Mims is a vertical guy. If you believe you can develop him as a route runner, and he says he can. I mean, every player is going to say that.
Yeah.
But if you believe that, you might really have something on your hands. But that's the question, Zach, you have to answer. Do you believe this guy? Now, even if he falls to you in the 4th round, because I don't know if I want to take him in the 3rd at this point, but if he falls to you in the 4th, maybe 5th round, do you feel comfortable taking that chance? That's what Andrew Berry has to ask himself. That's the biggest question with Mims.
Yeah, but I do think Marvin Mims is fantastic, so I'm with you on that one. Personally, right now, I'm not mocking wide receivers. I get why, I understand why, and Tyler, your points are very good. They really have. I mean, they've drafted multiple wide receivers like they did last year. You know, it's like it's definitely something that I think, but I think Elijah Moore is that draft pick this year. That's just kind of where I'm at, right? Just 22, all the stuff we've already discussed ad nauseum, and we'll continue to discuss as nauseum because I am refreshing the Pro Shop page every day until I get that jersey. But I don't know when he'll actually pick his number either. So like that's part of what goes into that. And that's what. Do we have a number 8?
I don't think. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. I thought we did.
Do we?
Did we not? Kellen Mond.
Oh, that's not important. I'm sorry, but
okay. But I'm saying technically, you asked. We do have a number 8. It is Kellen Mond. I will say, regarding jerseys, they normally don't do it until after the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is. Whatever. That's fine.
Kellen Mond.
Sorry, Kellen Mond. You're done. Well, Mary Kay just released an article too, talking about it's Dobbs' job. As he's the backup. I think Mond probably finds himself on the practice squad if they can stash him there.
I don't think we did. Guys. I don't think we did, but do you think we? I'll just get into it later. I was going to ask if you guys think we tried to keep Jacoby at all before we went back and got Dobbs? Because
I think they knew the price was going to be too much, and that immediately took the conversation.
I just think
away.
It showed getting Dobbs back how much they wanted to keep someone with Watson that knows the game of football like that. Like Josh Dobbs is a smart quarterback, smart dude. So
I think they saw what he did in Tennessee too, and they just thought, I mean, okay,
he can spot start.
He can spot start. Exactly.
That's what I guarantee you that went into it. So
we'll get into that later.
Oh, I'm sure we'll have a great episode on quarterbacks.
We got that coming up. We're probably going to make this thing a frequent thing. I mean, probably each weekend try to do looking over each room and how it shakes out. So that's a new series that I think we just decided on this morning. Or right now, I don't know. So let's do it. I'll start with you, Zach, and then Tyler, and come back to me. Let's wrap this thing up. Let's talk about how it shakes out. And let's put this caveat there. If you think they add a wide receiver in the draft and think he makes the roster, you don't need to tell me who it is. Just say a rookie will get the 5th spot or the 6th spot. That's where, if you think they're going to take one and he will ultimately win, regardless of who it is, because I don't want, how it is trying to predict these sort of things. You just don't know how the draft's going to fall. Mm-hmm. So I'll start with you, Tyler. And where do you how many do they keep and who are they?
Historically, they normally keep 6 wide receivers. I wonder if that gets changed if you're changing your offense to play more shotgun. So I'm going to say they keep 7. I'm going to say Amari Cooper, obviously. The locks for me, Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Elijah Moore, Marquise Goodwin, David Bell. Then that's where you have questions. Now, I'm going to say the 6th guy will be a rookie of some sort. I've mentioned some names. I think there will be a rookie. And I don't see Andrew Berry cutting a rookie. First off, he has yet to do it. So that automatically is going to put them on. Then 7 comes down for me between, I'll say 3 guys. Demetric Felton, Michael Woods, and Jakeem Grant. Which one of them can be the best return man? Is Jakeem Grant a guy that is back from his injury? Because if he is, and he shows that he can be, Jakeem Grant's going to make this roster. That's the biggest question mark, though, for me, is Jakeem Grant's health. They clearly didn't bet on him potentially making the roster the way the contract is structured. So, Michael Woods has shown not that he can't. I mean, he's shown some flashes. That's about it so far. And Demetric Felton has shown that he can return, but he's a very questionable returner. And
his hands.
He's a guy that the hands worry me.
Yeah.
So as of right now, you know what? I'm going to bet on Jakeem Grant. I'm going to say Jakeem Grant's going to be that 7th guy. There you have your returner solved. So for me, Amari Cooper, Don Peoples-Jones, Elijah Moore, Marquise Goodwin, David Bell, rookie, Jakeem Grant. So I'm going to say 7. And again, guys, because everyone's going to say the Browns normally keep 6. The Browns will run first team for the first 3 years under Kevin Stefanski. you're going to a more shotgun-based offense. I think they keep 7. So I'm going to say Jakeem Grant's that 7th guy.
So I'm with you. Obviously, the locks are the locks. You got Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, Marquise Goodwin, DPJ. I think we're going to keep 7 as well, Tyler, but I think that Felton will probably make the roster as a running back this season just because you're losing Hunt. I think if you're going to talk about 7th and returner, why are we ignoring Isaiah Weston? Like, I mean, dude, I had hopes about him last year, until that injury. So I don't know.
I love him.
I think if you're going to look at someone to be, okay, you're going to make the roster, you could get some snaps on offense, but we need a returner. 4.4 speed still, like young.
It's still 4.4 speed.
Exactly.
Speed,
like, yeah. So I'm just saying, like, it's up in the air from there. Yeah, I think you said, Tyler, we're going to probably draft a wide receiver. I don't know what round. But yeah, I would say I wouldn't sleep on Isaiah Weston or Jakeem Grant to make that last spot.
I like it. I'm with you guys 7. I'm with you guys that it's 7. They've historically been carrying 4 running backs. I think it's 3 in that one role then goes to wide receiver that gets it to 7. Could they still only carry 6 and stash some guys on the practice squad? Sure, but I think they've already shown when they got Elijah Moore and Marquise Goodwin, not one or the other, that this clear shift we all believe is going to happen and we all believe should happen is happening. I think that is kind of the indication there. So I'll give the locks. The locks are Cooper, DPJ, Moore, Bell, and Goodwin. The top 5, I think those guys are all locks. Number 6 for me is Michael Woods, man. They love Michael Woods. Like it was so much smoke and buzz in OTAs and mini camps in the beginning of training camp talking about Michael Woods and the attention that he had grabbed. And we know from experience with this regime how much they love their draft picks, as you guys have already alluded to. And I think that Woods never got things right. I don't think he gets hurt in training camp. I did get to see him a little bit before the injury flared up. That dude's bigger than you think he is. That is a big, strong player. Yeah. And if you watch his tape in college, and you don't really want to watch the Oklahoma tape, you want to watch where was he?
Arkansas.
The Arkansas. Yeah. The Arkansas tape is good. He goes into Oklahoma. They use him really weird as his final year. He's got this giant these long arms and big catch radius. He didn't really use a wide catch radius in college, and that was kind of a knock on him that he wasn't using the physical tools that he has. But he has this frame where he just goes up and he shields the ball from the defenders. He just puts his big body in between him and the ball, the defender and the ball, and then he's able to come down with those. I think they like him a lot. The seventh comes down to Grant, Felton, Weston, and a rookie. I think that's where it all comes down to. If it's a rookie, he's a lock at 7. In my mind, if they draft a rookie, he's at 7. But as I sit right here, I said it earlier, I don't think they go wide receiver. I think their wide receiver pick was Elijah Moore. But we know Andrew Berry, and if Marvin Mims, for example, is there at 98, or even if they wait and Marvin Mims falls to like 111 in the 4th round, he's going to sprint that card up. He's going to sprint it up, and he's going to be happy about it, and that would be the lock at 7. And Felton, I think, is in there too with Grant. But ultimately, that's where I think it shakes out.
Yeah, man. It's going to be really interesting to see how this all goes down. And again, I have nothing against Michael Woods. I actually think he could be a pretty solid football player. Again, and I remember hearing that they do like Michael Woods a lot. It's just you have so much competition. If you do bring in another rookie, also I think they want a guy that can return.
Yeah,
aka Jakeem Grant. That's where if a guy like Woods doesn't return and you bring in a rookie, for instance, that can return, that's where it gets dicey for me. Because I would love to keep Michael Woods personally, because I was actually excited about him last offseason until all the injuries happened, so on and so forth. And I don't know how many of these guys you could stash on a practice squad. I mean, we haven't even talked about Dalen Baldwin, who who played for the Browns a couple of games last year, who I think they like. That's another guy you can stash. Jalen Darden, another guy that we didn't really get to see, but Watson has been working out with Jalen Darden when he's been in Houston. Like, we saw video of that. So, and Jalen Darden can return. Is Jalen Darden a guy that makes the roster? See, this is a discussion that really, like, we can even revisit after the draft to see how we think this is going to shake out too. Jalen Darden's a dark horse in my mind because this is a guy that can return. He's been working out with, and again, I'm not saying that means much because Watson's in Houston. He knows Darden's on the roster, and Marquez Stevenson, who we also didn't talk about, but I don't think he's making it. But Darden's is the dark horse here. They brought him in at the end of the year for a reason, to get a look. He's still there. They didn't move on. He's still on the roster. He can return. He's young. If Jakeem Grant's not that returner, there's Jalen Darden's chance right there. If they don't draft it, if they don't draft the guy that can return, Jalen Darden might have a good chance of making this roster. So,
yeah. Well, I appreciated everybody that stopped in here and chatted with us. We went a little bit longer than I think we intended to, but I think that's just how these things end up going. We appreciate you guys so much. We really do. It's been a wild and crazy offseason and a crazy ride, and I just don't think it's over yet. So Tyler's got another video dropping for talking about the free agent acquisitions on Monday morning. The Barking Browns will be live Tuesday after the Yard Dogs are live at 7. You guys will be back on Wednesday. I believe Petty Eddie will go before you guys. We got all kinds of stuff lined up. I'll have another draft.
We got a cool guest coming.
We got on Wednesday, we have Matt O'Leary covers the Jets. We are going to break down the Elijah Moore trade. We're going to talk about what type of player we're getting, what went wrong in New York, what he's bringing to Cleveland, and if we have some time, we might talk a little Aaron Rodgers in that situation from a Jets perspective.
That's always fun because
we're going on a darkness retreat, bro. We're doing it.
And then you don't want to retire anymore.
I'm on a darkness retreat in Mount Vernon.
he's still at that whip zinger. Guys, we appreciate it. You guys giving some time to us once again. So we appreciate you guys. We will talk to you guys next time. As always, go Browns.
Go Browns.